I opened the door and felt my whole life detonate. There she was, Brittany, my wife of 7 years, sitting comfortably on the lap of a tanned, muscle-packed stranger in my own living room. My mother, son, and even Brittany's mom were all there like it was some twisted family picnic. Laughter, wine, fake smiles. Like I didn't exist. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice already breaking in my throat. Brittany turned to me with her fake LA smile and that sugar-sweet venom in her voice. "You're no longer living here, Jason," she said, crossing her arms like she was running the whole damn world now. "You have 30 minutes to pack your things. My lover will take care of all of us." Her lover, the guy with the smirk like he'd just won a prize pig at a county fair, didn't even blink. He just rested his hand right on her thigh, and Brittany let him. In front of our son. In front of my own mother. I was stunned. Like someone just unplugged reality. "Are you kidding me?" I whispered, still in my work uniform from the fire station, still covered in sweat and soot from the blaze I'd just spent 6 hours fighting. "You're throwing me out?" She laughed. Actually laughed. "Don't act like this is some surprise. We both know you've been dragging us down. He's successful. You? You play hero for pennies." I looked over at Ethan, our 6-year-old, who was just staring at his tablet like none of this was happening. My mom stood frozen by the doorway, shaking her head in disbelief. Brittany's mom? She nodded like this was all perfectly normal. That's when it clicked. She didn't just plan this today. This wasn't impulsive. It was an ambush. A divorce ambush. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to rip that smug look off the guy's face. But then I remembered. The prenup. Brittany's parents were the ones who'd insisted I sign it back before the wedding. "It's just a formality," they said. "You understand, right? Protecting family assets." At the time, I thought it was unnecessary. I loved her. I trusted her. And I signed it. But here's the thing. The prenup was ironclad, and Brittany forgot it exists. I looked her straight in the eye and smiled for the first time that day. "You sure about this?" She rolled her eyes. I've never been more sure of anything. So I nodded, turned around, and said, "Give me 30 minutes. I packed only what I needed. Laptop, IDs, my dad's old watch. I didn't even take my clothes. Let her keep them. Let her throw a party with her lover wearing my t-shirts for all I care." Because Brittany just nuked her whole life without realizing she was standing on a minefield herself. The next morning, my phone had 103 missed calls. From her. From her mom. From her friends. I didn't answer a single one. You want to know why? Because I had already sent the prenup to my lawyer, Greg, the night before. The one that said if Brittany cheated, she gets nothing. Not the house. Not the car. Not custody. Not even the dog. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. It was war. And she just handed me the nuclear codes. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I lay on the couch in my buddy Connor's garage apartment, staring at the ceiling fan spin like a slow-motion wrecking ball. My hands itched for something, revenge, maybe. Or just closure. But my heart? It was numb. Like someone had poured cement into my chest and left me to harden. At 6:12 a.m., Brittany called again. Missed call number 104. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my email and forwarded the prenup to Greg, adding only 3 words, initiate full enforcement. By 9 a.m., Greg had already filed. That fast. No warning. No negotiation. The contract was clear, infidelity voided everything. She was entitled to nothing. Not the house, not alimony, not even a slice of my pension. And thanks to a clause I barely remembered, the cheating partner also lost primary custody until the court could evaluate the situation. So I let her call. Let her panic. Let her scream into the void. But I wasn't done yet. I needed to know how long this circus had been going on behind my back. Something told me it wasn't just a fling. Brittany wasn't the type to take risks unless she was already convinced she'd win. So I called in a favor. See, when you're a firefighter, you make a few interesting friends. One of them is Noah, a cybercrime specialist who now works for a private security firm. I helped pull his kid out of a flooded basement last year. He owed me. "Noah, I need you to dig," I told him. Her phone. Socials. Email. I want the whole map. He didn't ask questions. By noon, he sent me screenshots. Hundreds of them. Brittany's Instagram DMs were loaded with messages to a guy named Derek, a personal trainer from Scottsdale with abs like a Calvin Klein ad and a vocabulary that wouldn't pass 3rd grade. Pictures. Voice notes. Plans. Hotel receipts. Even one message where she wrote, "Can't wait to do that thing again. He still thinks I'm going to yoga." There were 23 separate dates over the past 5 months. 23 times she kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me, hugged our son, and then disappeared into motel rooms with that low-rent meathead. She even used our joint account to pay for some of the hotels. That was the moment something inside me cracked, not in grief, but in resolve. This wasn't just betrayal. This was warfare. But she made one mistake bigger than all the others. She trusted that I'd crumble. Around 4 p.m., I went back to the house while she was gone. Greg had already filed for an emergency motion to freeze our shared assets. That meant I had legal access to remove anything that was mine. Furniture? Nope. Didn't care. But I wanted the safe. It was still in the closet, hidden behind her pile of overpriced purses. Inside it, everything I needed. My old passport. Our wedding video flash drive, which, ironically, would help my case. A small velvet box with my grandfather's military medals. And a black notebook, her diary. I should have stopped there. But I didn't. I opened it. The first page read, "The key to getting away with something is making him feel like he's the crazy one." My hands clenched. I read more. She detailed how she gradually distanced me from her emotionally, how she picked fights to push me away, how she even manipulated her friends into believing I was abusive, just in case I need witnesses later, she wrote. I put the diary back, locked the safe, and walked out. Later that night, she texted me. "Can we talk? It's not what you think. You overreacted. I didn't mean for it to go like this." I stared at the screen. Not what I think. I sent her one message, a screenshot of the prenup's clause that said, "Infidelity will result in total forfeiture of shared assets and custodial rights." No words. Just that. She didn't reply. But 10 minutes later, Derek did. Yeah. He messaged me. "Back off, bro. You lost. She chose me. Don't make this worse." I laughed. Out loud. Because that was the moment I realized they still didn't know. They didn't know the prenup was real. They thought this was just a fight. That I'd come crawling back, or maybe spiral into some desperate plea for forgiveness. They had no idea what was coming. 3 days. That's how long it took for the illusion to start crumbling for Brittany. 3 days of silence from me. 3 days without a single word from Ethan, my son. 3 days of her getting served papers. 3 days of realizing her little power play wasn't a checkmate, but a suicide move. On the morning of the 4th day, I was sitting in Greg's office. He slid the final report from our private investigator across the desk toward me. "Jason," he said, "she's been planning this for over 6 months. The guy's real name isn't Derek, it's Darren Cross. And he's not a trainer. He's been unemployed for almost a year. 3 DUIs. 2 assault charges. 1 sealed case for battery." I stared at the photo clipped to the top of the file. Darren and Brittany kissing in a hot tub. Champagne bottle in hand. Our son's birthday in the background. I'd been working that night. She said she had a migraine and couldn't throw the party herself. My mom stepped in. Turns out, she wasn't sick. Just busy playing house with the clown. I didn't say a word to Greg. I just nodded. "Custody hearing is scheduled next week," he added. "If she doesn't show up sober, alone, and remorseful, the judge will bury her. Especially with this evidence." That was good. But I wanted more. See, revenge isn't about screaming. It isn't about fists or fire. It's about silence. About making your enemy think they're safe, just long enough for the floor beneath them to disappear. So I waited. The call stopped. But then came the texts. Not from Brittany, she knew better by now. Her friends started texting me. Samantha, her fake bestie who used to tell Brittany she was too good for me. Now she was messaging. "Hey, I know this is weird, but I always thought you were the better one. If you ever want to grab coffee." Delete. Then came Rachel, the girl who swore she'd go to war for Brittany. "If you need someone to vent to, I'm here. Brittany messed up. Big time." Delete. They were rats, jumping off a sinking ship. And I was the ocean, pulling them under. The next part? That was the most satisfying moment of the entire disaster. Greg called me one night and said, "She's trying to sell the house." I blinked. "The house that's legally frozen?" "Yeah," he chuckled. "She doesn't know yet. But the title office flagged it immediately. She's going to find out tomorrow when the deal falls through." And no, she found out. Because the next morning, Brittany showed up, uninvited, at Connor's garage apartment. She was wearing yoga pants, no makeup, her blonde hair tied in a sloppy bun. For once, she didn't look like she was headed to a photo shoot. She looked like a woman who just watched the elevator cable snap beneath her. "Jason," she started, already crying, already shaking. Please. Can we talk? Please. I didn't open the door. I stood on the other side, let her cry, let her scream, let her beat her fists against the wood like she was the victim in all this. I waited until she said the thing I was expecting. Please. He left me. Boom. There it was. Darren bailed. Took the car, the cash, her trust, and left her with nothing but mascara-stained cheeks and an empty wine bottle on the table. Classic predator move. Use, bleed, and vanish. Still, I said nothing. She finally slid to the ground, sobbing like a scene out of some cheap soap opera. I texted her, from inside, just 4 words. You picked the wrong side. That night, Greg filed for full custody with psychological review. And I sent the court every piece of evidence. The diary, the motel receipts, the texts, the fake sickness excuses, the manipulated friends, everything. I was done playing her games. Now, she was going to play mine. And I wasn't pulling punches anymore. It was quiet for 2 days after Brittany showed up sobbing at my door. No calls, no texts, no drama. Which only meant one thing: she was planning something. Because Brittany never stayed quiet unless she was about to cause chaos. Greg warned me she's probably trying to flip the narrative. Make herself the victim. That's what people like her do. They don't take responsibility, they redirect it. He was right. On the 3rd morning, my mom called me in tears. Jason, she went to the church, she said shakily. She told Pastor Reeves that you've been emotionally abusive for years. That she only cheated because she was desperate. I didn't even react. I expected this. It was classic Brittany. She's talking to everyone now, my mom added. She's playing the sympathy card. Telling people Darren manipulated her. That she was confused and that she just wants her family back. Oh, now she wanted her family back? Now that the money dried up, the side piece ran off, and the house she tried to sell was legally frozen? I drove straight to Ethan's school that afternoon to pick him up early. I needed time with him. Just me and my son, away from the poison. We went to the arcade. I let him pick out whatever junk he wanted from the ticket counter. He was smiling again. Really smiling. The way he hadn't in weeks. And just when I was about to relax, she showed up. At the damn arcade. Hair done. Makeup on. Dressed like she was walking into court, not into a family zone. She marched up to me and smiled like nothing had happened. Jason, we need to talk. Privately. Ethan immediately froze behind me. No, I said, calmly. We're not doing this here. She ignored me, crouched down to Ethan's level, and reached for him. Baby, don't you want to come home? Mommy misses you so much. Ethan flinched. That was it. That single flinch told me everything. Step away, I snapped, stepping between them. You don't show up unannounced. Not anymore. Not ever again. You can't keep him from me, she hissed under her breath, her smile still plastered on for the other parents. This is illegal. You really want to test how well I've documented your breakdowns, Brittany? I leaned in. I have videos. Audio. You drunk. You screaming. You storming into my mom's house and throwing a glass at her wall. You want to go to war over custody? Bring your A game. She backed off. For the moment. But that wasn't the end of it. Later that night, my friend Jared sent me a link to Brittany's Instagram. She'd posted a picture, her, Darren, an old photo obviously, and Ethan. Caption: families aren't perfect. But love wins. Always. The comments? Flooded with sympathy. Stay strong, girl. You're doing what's best for you and your son. Ignore the haters. Heal. Deal? This woman just tried to boot me out of my own home, parade her boyfriend in front of my child, lie to half the town, and now she was the hero? It was disgusting. But I didn't argue. I didn't comment. I let her bury herself with her own shovel. Instead, I spent the next 2 days collecting everything. Screenshots of her stories. Evidence of her using Ethan in posts for sympathy clout. Statements from my neighbors about the loud fights between her and Darren. Even an email from one of her old coworkers. Turns out Brittany once bragged that she was grooming Jason for financial support until something better came along. Her words. I packaged it all and handed it to Greg. The court date was 3 days away. And Brittany? She had no idea what was coming. She thought this was still about love. She thought I wanted her back. She thought I was still the guy who forgave too much, who loved too hard, who looked the other way. She had no clue I had become someone else. Someone she created with every betrayal, every lie, every smug little laugh. Someone who wasn't afraid anymore. She thought she was fighting for her image. But I was fighting for my son. And in 3 days, I was going to take back everything she tried to steal from me. Courtrooms are strange places. So quiet, so polished, so fake, like putting a fresh coat of paint over a war zone. But I wasn't there for theater. I wasn't there to prove I was a saint. I was there to finish this. Greg and I walked into the courthouse side by side. He carried the file, 2 inches thick, packed with everything. The lies, the betrayal, the manipulation, her diary entries, the drunken rants, her fake social media act, the receipts from the motels, the prenup, all of it. And Brittany? She showed up 20 minutes late, in heels too high, lips too red, perfume too loud. Like she thought this was some Bravo reality reunion. She wore a white dress, probably to look pure. But I swear, if irony could kill, she'd have dropped dead right there on the courthouse steps. Darren didn't come. He was long gone. And her attorney? Some junior guy she probably pulled last minute from a billboard. Judge Madeline Harrow entered the room. Stern. Sharp. No patience for nonsense. She opened the file Greg had submitted the night before and raised her eyebrow. Mrs. Walker, she said, addressing Brittany, I assume you've read this? Brittany tried her usual move, tears on cue. Your Honor, I've made mistakes, but I love my family. Jason and I. I didn't ask if you love your family, Judge Harrow snapped. I asked if you've read the evidence against you. That shut her up fast. Greg stood. Your Honor, we are seeking full custody of the child, immediate enforcement of the prenuptial agreement signed on June 7, 2016, and a restraining order until Mrs. Walker completes psychological evaluation and parenting classes. Her lawyer fumbled, stammering about emotional distress and lack of intent. But Judge Harrow wasn't biting. She flipped to the motel receipts. 23 documented rendezvous, she read out loud, during your son's school hours, followed by repeated instances of using your child in social media posts to manipulate public perception. Is this accurate? Brittany opened her mouth, then closed it again. The silence was loud. Greg slid the diary forward. We have her own words, Your Honor, including passages where she discusses manipulating Mr. Walker into isolation, creating false narratives about emotional abuse to use as a shield in case she was caught cheating, and intentionally using their son to secure sympathy from her social circle. Judge Harrow read silently for a moment. Then she looked up. Mrs. Walker, you have endangered the emotional stability of your child. You've weaponized your personal life for public attention. And based on the evidence presented, you've shown a consistent pattern of deception and emotional manipulation. Brittany's tears finally came for real this time. But it was too late. Effective immediately, the judge said, primary custody is awarded to Mr. Jason Walker. Visitation rights suspended pending psychological evaluation. The prenuptial agreement is upheld in full. Mrs. Walker is entitled to none of the shared marital assets. Brittany gasped, like someone had slapped her. Her lawyer stood. Your Honor, with respect. Denied, the judge said. She rolled the dice. She lost. And just like that, the war was over. We walked out of the courtroom. Greg patted me on the back. You good? He asked. I nodded. But I wasn't smiling. Not yet. Because as we stepped outside, I saw her on the steps, surrounded by 2 of her friends, crying into a Starbucks cup like the world had wronged her. I didn't say a word. I didn't look at her. I just kept walking. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about freedom. And I had finally earned mine. That night, Ethan and I ordered pizza, built a pillow fort in the living room, and watched The Incredibles together. He fell asleep halfway through, his head on my chest, breathing softly. That's when I finally smiled. Because for the first time in a long time, it was just peace. No pretending. No lies. No poison. Just me and my boy. And nothing else mattered. You'd think that after court, after the judge's ruling, after Brittany got slapped with full legal reality, she'd disappear. Fade into the background. Go lick her wounds in silence. But no, that would require humility. And Brittany had none. The first sign of trouble came 2 days after the hearing. I was walking Ethan home from school, just a regular Thursday, and suddenly he said something that froze my blood. Mommy said she's going to take me to Disney World next week, he said, chewing on a gummy bear. I stopped mid-step. She told you that? He nodded. She said you were being mean and that you don't want me to have fun. Of course she did. She wasn't done fighting. She was just changing tactics. She couldn't win in court, so now she was going for emotional warfare, using our son like a pawn in a game she already lost. When we got home, I messaged Greg. Document this, I wrote. She's already violating the court's verbal warning. He called back in minutes. Jason, start recording. Every interaction, Every message. Every phone call. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. He was right. That night, Brittany texted me directly. Brittany, I miss my son. This is sick. You're sick. You poisoned him against me. Me, the judge made a decision. If you want visitation, follow the court's orders. Brittany, I'm his mother. You can't erase me. Me. No. You did that yourself. I could practically hear her scream through the phone. The next morning, her sister Vanessa messaged me on Facebook. You're disgusting. You manipulated the system. Brittany is suicidal now because of you. Hope you're proud. Right. Now I was supposed to feel guilty? Let me make something clear. I didn't want Brittany broken. I wanted her accountable. But she was allergic to responsibility. To her, being caught was worse than being wrong. That weekend, Ethan was invited to a birthday party. I went with him, tried to relax, to be present, but halfway through, Brittany showed up. In a bright red dress, done up like she was going clubbing, and carrying a gift for Ethan. The moment she saw me, her smile dropped. This isn't your day, she hissed, stepping close. I'm his mother. You're on a court order, I whispered. You're not even supposed to see him right now. She tilted her head. Are you going to cause a scene in front of the kids? No, I said calmly, pulling out my phone. But this video will go straight to the judge. She froze. For the first time, really froze. And I saw it, the flicker of fear. Not because she cared about the law, but because she finally realized I wasn't playing defense anymore. I was in control, and she hated it. She dropped the gift on the table and left without another word. Later, I opened it. Inside was a t-shirt that said, Mommy's Boy Forever. It still had the store tag. Never touched. Never cared for. Just a prop. A symbol of her desperation. I put it back in the box and shoved it deep in the closet. Ethan never even saw it. He didn't need another manipulation. He needed stability. That night, I sat down and started writing something I hadn't in years, a letter. Not to her. To myself. I wrote down everything. The lies. The gaslighting. The nights I stayed up waiting for her to come home from girls' night, only to smell cheap cologne on her. The way she mocked me when I said I missed her. The time she laughed when I cried the day my dad passed. I wrote until my hands ached. And when I was done, I read it once, then burned it. Because I was done letting her live in my head rent-free. She lost. I won. But most importantly, Ethan won. That was all I needed. 3 weeks passed. 3 peaceful, beautiful weeks. No phone calls. No unannounced visits. No Instagram sob stories. It felt like the storm had finally passed. Ethan was sleeping better, eating better, smiling again. I'd started running in the mornings, trying to rebuild my focus. My world was quiet again. Until I got the letter. Not a message. Not an email. A handwritten letter. I found it folded neatly in my mailbox, no stamp, no envelope. Just my name in her handwriting, like she thought we were in some twisted Nicholas Sparks novel. I almost threw it away. But curiosity got the better of me. It read, Jason, I know you hate me. I don't blame you. But I never hated you. I just needed something more. Something you couldn't give me. That's not your fault. I want to see Ethan. He's still my son. No judge can change that. I'm getting help now. Therapy. I'm trying. You always said you admired my strength. Don't make me use it against you. Brittany. That last line hit like a slap. It wasn't a plea. It was a threat. She wasn't writing to apologize, she was warning me. And I knew exactly what she meant. She was going to try to flip the script, make herself the victim, maybe even claim I was abusive again. Her words had always been weapons. Now she wanted to remind me she could still cut deep. So I responded in the only way she understood. Silence. No reaction. No reply. Let her twist in the void of being ignored. But I wasn't stupid. I knew this was just her first move. Greg called me 2 days later. His voice was tight. She's trying to motion for an emergency hearing. Claims you're emotionally manipulating Ethan and turning him against her. I actually laughed. Seriously. She submitted evidence. A recording. Oh, here we go. I drove straight to Greg's office. He played the audio for me. It was me and Ethan in the living room. I was helping him with his homework. Ethan, I don't want to go with Mommy. Me, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but just focus on your spelling. That's it. That was her proof. She edited it, Greg said. Clipped it to make it sound like you're coaching him. She bugged my house, I muttered. Greg nodded grimly. We're filing a restraining order for harassment. You'll want to sweep the house. And check the cars too. I did. I found 2 devices. One in a fake air freshener in the hallway. One under Ethan's booster seat. She had bugged her own child's seat. Let that sink in. This wasn't about motherhood. It was about control. I took everything to the police. They opened an investigation immediately. This wasn't a custody battle anymore. This was criminal. I expected her to go into hiding. But no. She doubled down. She made a public Facebook post. Long, dramatic, full of fake tears typed out in full caps. I'm a mother who's being punished for making a mistake. My husband is destroying my life because I didn't love him the way he needed. He took my son. He took my home. And now he's calling me crazy. I am a victim too. She tagged my friends, my coworkers, even my mother. It was everywhere. And yet, the comments weren't what she expected. You bugged his house? You're insane. Using your own kid like that? Not cool. Girl, this ain't the way to win him back. It was the first time the public turned on her. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. Because I didn't want her to crash. I just wanted her gone. So Greg filed the final motion. Revocation of all visitation. Indefinite. Pending full psychiatric review. And this time, the judge didn't hesitate. The ruling came in quick. Due to recent events, including unauthorized surveillance, manipulation of digital media, and continued emotional endangerment of the minor, all maternal rights are suspended indefinitely. That night, I tucked Ethan into bed and read him Where the Wild Things Are. Halfway through, he looked up and said, "Dad, are the wild things real?" I smiled. They were. But they're gone now. It was over. Not the kind of over that comes with applause or champagne or some feel-good Hollywood ending. It was the kind that comes quietly, like the last breath of a dying storm. The house didn't shake. No glass shattered. No fireworks. Just silence. I was sitting on the porch, sipping black coffee as the sun started creeping over the rooftops. Ethan was still asleep inside. Safe. Finally. And Brittany? She was gone. Not legally erased, no. The paperwork still existed. The restraining orders. The custody rulings. But emotionally, mentally, spiritually, she was done. Her attempts to manipulate, twist, control, they had all collapsed under their own weight. The last time I saw her was a week ago. She stood outside the courthouse, hair unwashed, hoodie too big for her frame, makeup smudged like she hadn't slept in days. No camera crew. No staged tears. Just raw, bitter exhaustion. She didn't say a word. She just stared at me, her eyes hollow, like she still didn't understand how it all went wrong. Like she hadn't written the script herself. I nodded once. Not out of pity. Not out of forgiveness. Just acknowledgement. She was done. I walked past her without a word. And that was it. The final chapter. Looking back now, I don't know when she changed. Maybe it was gradual. A lie here. A missed call there. Coldness that built up like dust on furniture. You don't see it until the sun hits it just right. Or maybe she was always like that. Maybe I just refused to see it. But the signs were there. I just didn't want to believe them. I wanted the woman I met in college, the funny, fiery girl who danced barefoot at bonfires and told me the world was ours. But that woman disappeared long before Darren showed up. The Brittany I married had ambition. The Brittany I divorced had entitlement. She believed the world owed her comfort, excitement, a shortcut out of boredom. And I was the guy standing in the way of her fantasy. Well, not anymore. Now it's just me and Ethan. We built a new routine. Slow, quiet, healing. Mornings start with cereal and cartoons. Weekends are for fishing trips or baseball games. And every night before bed, we have this little ritual. He picks a comic book, I do the voices, and we end with a whispered promise. You're safe. I got you. Because after all the noise, after all the betrayal, all the lies and threats and gaslighting, that's what matters. Not the revenge. Not the victories in court. The healing. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't carry scars. Some nights I still wake up sweating, hearing her laugh echo in my head. Other times, I catch myself questioning every new person I meet. Trust doesn't come easy anymore. But I'm working on it, piece by piece. Because this wasn't just about Brittany. It was about me, too. About the man I let myself become. Passive. Quiet. Shrinking to make room for someone who would never be satisfied, no matter how much I bled. Now, I take up space again. I speak with certainty. I protect what matters, and I let go of what doesn't. So if you're reading this, and you're in the thick of it, if you're waking up every day wondering if you're crazy, if it's your fault, if maybe you just need to try harder, hear me now. You are not the villain for choosing peace over chaos. You are not wrong for walking away from someone who kept moving the finish line. And if they try to twist your reality, lie to your face, gaslight you into silence, don't flinch. Gather the truth. Stand tall. Let them burn their own bridge. You just make sure you're not standing on it when it goes up in flames. As for Brittany, I don't wish her pain. I don't wish her happiness either. I wish her distance. I wish her the kind of silence that forces reflection, the kind she can't manipulate, the kind she can't run from, the kind that reminds her this was all her choice. And me? I'm moving forward, not bitter, not broken, just free.